Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another Premier Division review show. We're going to give our predictions for Friday's games after this as well. So welcome JP. How's it going? You well?
Hi, Grant. Happy days.
Good stuff, good
Glad to
stuff.
be here.
We'll start off with Henry Game Park where Drogheda United, I suppose this is the surprise of the season, JP. The beat Shamrock Rovers 1-0. Ryan Brennan's goal after 37 minutes, the difference between the teams. And it's a massive win for Drogheda, to be fair, isn't it? Because it puts them 9 points above Finn Harps in the table. Probably an unexpected win in many ways for them. Rovers defeated, but I suppose in the game in itself, Rovers created a lot of chances, particularly at the start of the game. I think there was a chance. There was a chance for Mandrew. A couple other chances as well. Tell was just offside after a lovely ball from Jack Bird. Sam Long made an absolutely worldly of a save from Danny Mandrayo as well in the game. But I suppose Ryan Brennan's goal in the first half was pretty much Drogheda's only real chance of the half. But they had problems. Drogheda Massey went off early in the game, so they brought in Dale Rooney. And what they done was they put Heaney to right back, who started in midfield. Evan Weir moved to centre back, who started left back. And Georgie Poynton, who started right back, had moved to left back. So that was a major reconstruction of the defence.
Yeah.
And to keep Shamrock Rovers out, I suppose, is no mean feat. And we might talk about the red card a bit later. But massive result for Drogheda, wasn't it?
Oh, it's huge, because despite defeating Friday night, Finn Harps were to Drogheda. Finn Harps were probably thinking, well, it's not massive because we're probably going to be still within that 6 points for a while, and then all of a sudden they're coming off the pitch and they're saying that they're 9 points behind Drogheda have, and it's an absolutely fantastic one for Drogheda. Like, ones against Shamrock Rovers are hard to come by, and it's a great win for them. Opens up a 9 point gap between themselves and the bottom two. We always felt that they probably would have enough to stay away from there, but we're seeing now that the teams are starting to pull away from the bottom two, and it's huge win for Drogheda. Shamrock Rovers would have been they'll probably kick themselves that they didn't win this game, but they'll be delighted because they haven't lost, they haven't conceded any ground to Derry, so they'll just take it on the chin like they did the other defeat that they had this season, and they'll go again. What was it, 9 wins in 10 games before Friday night? Or Monday night, sorry. They'll probably not go on. They'll probably not go on the same kind of run, but they'll take it on the chin. They'll go again. It's what champions do.
Absolutely. I think to be honest, it was one of those games where it seemed to be an off day for Shamrock Rovers, where everything went wrong.
And you're always going to get that.
You're always going to get that. But the thing is, you always feel like they can bounce back type thing. That's the thing with them. I suppose with the red card, I didn't see the first yellow, the second yellow. I know a lot of Shamrock Rovers fans were angry this one. Right. But from my point of view, I do think it was a second yellow, because I'm not saying Mandrew went in to take long out of it. He's desperately trying to get to the ball.
It was reckless.
It is high. It's high, exactly. Yeah.
It was reckless. It was in my opinion. In my opinion, when I first saw it and on the highlights reel, I thought red card.
Yeah.
And then I saw the referee give my yellow card, and then actually realised it had already been booked. So reckless tackle. So it was at least reckless. So that's a yellow card. It was borderline dangerous as well, which would have been a straight red.
It's definitely dangerous, JP, because I'm not saying he goes in to take out Long's head, but he can take out his head. That's the point.
In my opinion,
it's very dangerous.
In my opinion, Ray Matthews has done him a favour by giving him a second yellow, because if he gets a straight red, he probably gets more games. Second yellow, he gets 1 game. But at the same time, I can say from a referee's point of view, he's more likely to be able to sell it as a red card for a reckless tackle and give him a second yellow for reckless, rather than sending him off for dangerous, if you know what I mean. So,
do you think if he wasn't on a yellow, he gives him a red? Potentially.
I don't know. But I think from my point of view, from when I saw it, I saw even the replay didn't change my mind. I thought it should have been red card. I know the ball's there to be won, but you have to be mindful of when you're going in there. You have to be mindful of you're potentially endangering your opponent. Look, I know the keeper's on the ground. He can't, like, his head's on the ground, so, but at the same time, Danny Mandrew has to be mindful of the goalkeeper when he's going in for a tackle. I'm not saying he went in, he's going to, obviously, I believe he's going in to try and win the ball and score the goal, but no player, I think, goes into a tackle and truly believes they try and, especially in that situation, he's going in there to try and win the ball. It's different if it's in the middle of the park and the ball's 5-10 yards away. And a red takes about 5 seconds and you fly into a tackle. Like, so, to answer your question, I don't know is the honest answer. But for me, I would have been given I'd have been getting out the straight red rather than a second yellow. But as I say, Ray Matthews probably felt that was Ray Matthews, wasn't it? He probably felt that he could sell it more as a red card by giving the second yellow rather than a red card. So look, at the end of the day, he got the red card, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, in my opinion, you have to protect goalkeepers in that situation. Obviously, years ago, and that you saw with Petter.
Not even goalkeepers, you know?
Like anyone, yeah. But obviously,
if a defender sliding in there, they try and get a toe on it before Mandrew, and he catches him the same way. But as you say, I take your point. You have to protect goalkeepers because they're the ones that are going in with their hands and everything. And look, in my opinion, the red card was the right decision. Whether it was a second yellow or a straight red, it was the right decision, in my opinion. I
agree 100%, absolutely. And not only I agree, but it is the rule, to be honest. Obviously, Drogheda United are 9 points ahead of Finn Harps. I was looking at the table quickly there. They're 9 points behind St.Patrick's Athletic. So from their point of view, it's great. But it's great because they can look up the table. Like, we'll obviously get on to both Drogheda later on as well. But they're in that position.
The win that last night probably gives them a wee bit of breathing space for maybe, I'm going to put my head on the line here and say maybe a couple of months rather than a couple of games, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they could potentially maybe just give themselves a wee bit of, obviously they'll want to pick up more points and climb the table, but it gives them a wee bit of breathing space if they're not going into games with pressure. We need to keep Finn Harps at bay, or if they lose one game and Finn Harps win one game, it's still only 6 points. Harps will still have to win another 3 to even overtake them, you know what I mean? So it's a bit of breathing space at this early stage of the season. I know we're approaching the halfway stage, and as you say, the pressure will be all off Drogheda now, and they'll be looking up the table rather than down, in my opinion.
Yeah, hugely massive win. On to Finn Harps, and they were beaten 1-0 home to Dundalk. Daniel Kelly's goal in 54 minutes, and obviously Finn Harps now have a lot to do. They're 9 points behind, Drogheda 2 ahead of UCD, and 2 wins all season, 17 games against Shelbourne, funnily enough. But that 9 points, like 9 points is a big gap, but it really does feel like a big gap because Harps are struggling for form, they're struggling for goals. There's stuff going on, let's say, in the background. Ollie Horgan, is he, after the interview a few weeks ago on that, where he said, basically he could have walked at the start of the season, essentially, but he's still there. There just doesn't seem to be a right mood there, apart from the fact they're not getting results. And, they're struggling to score goals, as I said. In the game itself, Kelly eventually scored. He missed a couple of opportunities, but he lobbed McGinley, and it went over the top. Another chance well saved, and the follow-up was missed as well. But eventually he did score. Maybe actually McGinley, yeah. Keep saying McGinley could have done better possibly there as well, because he does get his hands on it. Actually, he can't keep it out. But Dundalk, we'll get on to them in a minute, but from a Finn Harps point of view, they did have chances later on, and McWoods in particular, a great chance at the end. They could have nicked a point out of the game, but it's dour enough this early even for Finn Harps, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know we always joke about the Finn Harps. They always come alive when we come on the winter season of the football, if you know what I mean. Like they're really going to have to do it this year if they ever have to do it. They are, we always joke about that, but I don't think they're ever 9-10 points. They're always probably within 6 or 7 points whenever they hit that type of run. I can't see how they're going to. I think if they're going to do that again this season, they have to get to September and be 9 points. I can't see them clawing back. If it goes any further than 9-10, I can't see them even putting in that kind of a run together, it might be enough to keep them away from UCD at the bottom, but I can't see it being enough to avoid a playoff position. The worrying thing for me is I'm just looking there. The first half they had 4 yellow cards. Now you're looking at that, and you're probably we know since Ollie's been there, referees have been happy to dish out cards to Finn Harps, and sometimes unjustified. So maybe the Harps fans can tell us maybe was that in a similar situation last night, like, but it's looking pretty grim for Finn Harps, and we all thought that they would be in this position at the end of the season, but we didn't think they'd be so far behind approaching the halfway stage.
Yeah, I think of the fact as well they've conceded more goals this season than they normally would, but they started the season scoring a couple of goals actually, but it's completely dried up. And you know, you talk about strikers not scoring goals; they just don't score goals. I mean, in the past, they've had likes of Webster, Shane McElhenney, and Siddiqui from set pieces who are dangerous and could score goals. So even that's gone. And serious players as defenders, but that goal threat has gone as well as the defensive side of things. So it just looks like to me, hunger. Maybe Ollie's lost a slight touch of that hunger and desire as well because of what happened at the start of the season. Maybe one or two things he didn't agree with, but you know, it is looking dangerous for them, particularly when Drogheda you suspect are going to pick up points here and there at least. But I suppose on to Dundalk and 4 wins.
Going back to the goals scored there, they've only scored 3 more than what UCD have. And when you look at UCD's goals against, Finn Harps has conceded 8 less. But UCD have conceded 13 in 3 games. Or was it 7? They've conceded, UCD I think have conceded something like 16. They Derry in 4 games. They Derry and Shamrock Rovers. So you take that 16 off UCD. You take, like, I know they still conceded 8. They still but that's 16 of them 37 for UCD has come against Derry and Shamrock Rovers. Like, so it's looking bleak for Finn Harps, like, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do in the window, but they're going to have to do something good, in my opinion, if they can. But that's for Dundalk, as I said, 4 wins out of their last 5, flying up the table, 2 defeats in 17 games. 26 goals scored, 14 against. Another massive win, a massive weekend actually for Dundalk to go to Brandywell and get 3 points to follow that up, because it wasn't easy to go and follow that up and win in Donegal either, wasn't it? Not, but they've gone and that's 2 on the road now, and they hadn't won all season on the road.
It's too difficult away venues as well, like supposedly anyway. But it's good momentum for them. Going into they're probably the only team apart from Shamrock Rovers that maybe don't want I wouldn't even say Shamrock Rovers. They're probably the only team in the league that don't want the mid-season break to come, which we'll do after the next match. Like, and sometimes that can halt your momentum. Like when you're really going for, everybody was tipping Demons not to be even in with the shout to the top 4. And when I watched them in the first game of the season in Oriel Park, I thought they would struggle for they make Europe, but look, fair play to Stephen O'Donnell. He's got them playing. He's got them playing some good football. He's got a good balance here. They know when they press the ball. They know when they sit off, and as long as you've got Pat Hubin and Dan Kelly and players like that in attack, we spoke a lot about the players that they had lost in attack this season. At the end of last season, the other clubs, but they had Hope in there, they Dan Kelly there, they brought in Stephen Bradley from Hibernian. They've kept a nucleus of their defence. I think, haven't they?
I think as well. Yeah, I think as well. They've a big, strong, physical kind of a midfield. Like Benson, he's not a big, strong guy, but you know what I mean. He gets around. He's physical. Sloggett is strong. Doyle is a tiger as well. They've got combative players in the middle of the park. And they've rotated a bit sometimes with Adams. I know Williams picked up an injury. So they've good options in there as well. Maybe better options than some of the teams around them. So I think that's been key in their defensive structure as well, I think. You know what I mean?
And the fact that I don't think they've been hampered by injuries either, haven't they not? They've managed to keep their squad healthy.
Pretty much, yeah.
They've pretty much had managed to keep the squad healthy, which is a big thing in a season, especially when you've a new manager coming in and he wants to get and like I said, they drew 6 out of their first 7 matches or something like that. And you always felt that they were either going to start losing them matches or they were going to start winning them, and they started winning them. And they're not only a point behind Derry, and they have a game in hand, which that game in hand I think is in July time. So that's probably the one downside for Dundalk, is that they haven't got that game in hand quite soon where they can take themselves above Derry. That they have to wait still another 3-4 weeks to be able to play that game in hand, and by then they could be 3-4 points further back, but it's still there in the background for them. But as I said to you on the Friday, the review show for Friday's matches, is I wouldn't rule them out for second place anyway. And neck on the line here and say 8 points behind, half a season to go. Maybe they could make it. Maybe they could make it into a 2-3 team title race. Like they're only 8 points behind, and they've half a season to go. It's quite potentially that they could be in the title race as well come the autumn.
That could be interesting. We'll move on to Shelbourne, who beat UCD 2-0 Talca Park. Sean Boyd right in half time, then Moylan about 10 seconds into the second half made it 2-0. It was incredible. Actually, before we get on to the rest of it, that actual goal, Andy Moylan must be pulling his hair out. To concede a goal like that, 12 seconds, 10 seconds into the second half, it was just a long punt up the pitch, and they didn't deal with it. Moylan does well, to be fair. He gets in around behind Boyd, who just does the donkey work as such, and he finishes it, well, he gets it into the corner. But Moylan must have been, that must have been a killer to concede right in half time and then the second goal like that. But
right after.
Just to compound things later on the game, last minute, Brendan Clark makes a good save from Liam Kerrigan's penalty as well. So disappointing from UCD, I suppose, in that manner. But Shelbourne 4 wins on the bounce. I think any threat of going down, forget about now. But they're only 4 points off Pats with a game in hand. Can they get in the race of Europe, or do you think if they got that close, they might wobble a little bit? Like, how do you see them in that manner? Like, do you think they can actually make a proper European charge here?
I think they can make. I think they can put themselves in the ring for it. Whether they could, they've picked up 4 wins out of their last 4 games.
Yeah.
Potentially, there's going to come a time in the season between now and the end of the season that they're going to go through maybe a spell of 4 or 5 games where they haven't won. But it's whether the teams around them pick up the points, and what they've done is the teams around them have dropped points and they've picked them up. And that's what you got to do. Like, the 2 defeats to Fun Harps, is you can forget about them now, because they've gone and put themselves clear of Fun Harps. So that's neither here nor there now. I think they can put themselves in the race for Europe when it comes down to the business end of the season, and every point is crucial. It's whether they'll have the experience in the squad. I know they'll have the experience in the dugout, they'll definitely have that, but it's whether the players in the pitch can deal with that kind of pressure come the end of the season, into the final quarter. When every point is vital and every drop point could be critical. But for now, Shelbourne fans are probably just enjoying being above Bohemians, to be honest with you. And they're, as I say, 4 points behind Pats. They're 11 points with Sligo. Hey, there's no reason why they can't. There's no reason why they can't play. And the FA Cup's still there to be won as well. So all it takes is just a team to get a nice draw, a good run, and the FA Cup could be yours. And look, let's not rule anybody out for that race for Europe, to be honest with you.
They also probably have a better squad than people think, because John Ross Wilson has missed the last couple of games, and Shane Farrell's actually stepped in at wing back, and actually I thought that'd be a role that could suit him, funnily enough. And he's been good in both games, but this game in particular, for the penalty, maybe controversial, the penalty, but he got a lovely cross into the box as the back post. It was hard to see properly, but didn't look like there was much of a foul on Boyd. Maybe he grabbed him beforehand before he could see the picture come into play. I don't know. So you have to take it as fact. It was a penalty, But the likes of him there, and young Hikiki is only 17. He was excellent against Pats as well. and seemingly very good against UCD as well. So that's the other side, I think, with Shelbourne. Maybe their squad is a bit stronger than people give credit for. Mark Coyle hasn't been available either, and JJ Lunny's come in, and Shelbourne fans will say he's made a serious difference in the midfield, and A. Dervin's really starting to settle into life at Shelbourne as well. So look, they've got players. Look, you're right. They'll probably hit a spell where they go 4 or 5 without winning, but you could say that's for every team in the league, bar maybe Shamrock Rovers, including Derry. You will get onto in a while. You've had that, but any other team, it's going to happen nearly every team in the league. But Duff. If I'm Damien Duff going into the last game on Friday, I'm very happy with the first 17 games, I think.
But I think what we spoke in the early part of the season was about Shelbourne not having the reins off, that the reins were on, that they seemed to be afraid to want to break out. And I think what we've seen now over the last 4, 5, 6 matches is the shackles have been slowly loosened by Damien Duff, and they're starting to reap the benefits of it. They're starting to create the chances. They're starting to score goals. And I talked about Dundalk not wanting the break come. Shelbourne's probably another team that don't want the break to come, because they're in such a good. And look, 4 wins out of 4, and they're looking up, and they're potentially like we are. Can we get ourselves in there? As we're saying, they're probably potentially saying what we're saying. Can we get ourselves in there?
Yeah, I'm sure Duff will want to keep them focused on the job in hand of staying up. But anyway,
St.Patrick, you can forget about that, because that's already he's guaranteed that without half a season played.
Yeah, he can't even go there and jest, can he?
No, he can't.
Patrick's Athletic 3, Bohemians 0 at Richmond Park, and I missed the first, let's say, 12 minutes of this match because I was away and got back, but I watched on TV, and I've seen the goal back that Tunde scored after 5 minutes. Tunde hat-trick, 45 and a 68-minute penalty. And this was an interesting game, because I have to say the first half was extremely open from both sides. It was a typical, I've seen this a few times, the Pats and Bows bar, the cup final, but typical Pats Bows game where it was end to end. Bows will wonder how they went 2-0 down at half time, if I'm honest, JP. They had a number of chances and an angled off some good saves. Devoy was carving Pats open time and time again. He must have wondered, what do I have to do? Because if he was on the Pats team, he probably would have been man of the match, that kind of way. He was excellent in the match overall, and he created anything good that went Bowes' way. But they missed chances. Or Junior had a chance, another lovely ball played in by Devoy, and he needs to hit it earlier and that type of thing. And Pats were clinical, and to be fair, Tunde was clinical. That goal after 5 minutes, he just brushes Kieran Kelly aside and finishes to the net. I think actually Talbot could have. I'm not sure what.
To say that.
I didn't like his position. He gave the angle, I think, didn't he?
He gave him a full
the corner.
He gave him a full corner to aim at. I think it was probably poor defending by Kelly as well. Like he's trying to swipe at the ball. But it's equally as poor goalkeeping, because I couldn't believe when I seen him going through how much of a net they actually had to aim for. Like it was poor, and then good finish right in the stroke of half time. He hits a box curler in the bottom
that
corner.
Was a very good finish. Yeah, that was a typical Tunde finish. Finn Harps, I remember well, I suppose.
And I don't think he can have any complaints about the penalty being awarded either. Like Doyle's got his back. The goal is going nowhere. Absolutely stupid by a defender. Absolutely stupid by a defender. Doyle's going nowhere. He hasn't even got any support with him. Just keep forcing him out the ways, and then Owolabi, as we've seen last year, dispatched it, as he done so often for Finn Harps, dispatched it. And I think, did he score a hat-trick against some Pats last year? He's now got one for them. So
he did.
As we saw last year with Harps, a quality player. You give him a service and he'll score goals.
He's unconventional, JP, but Didier Drogba was unconventional. He's that type of player, if you get me. Like he's going to batter defenders, but and the ball's going to bounce off him, and it might go 2 yards the other way and things like that. But he's going to give you serious problems, any defender, especially if you play kind of a high line. Now, as I said, Pats were clinical in the first half. Bowes will think how they were 2 down, but to be fair, the second half, Pats completely controlled the game, and Bowes didn't really offer anything. Clancy went back to that back three that he liked so much at Drogheda as well. He played Curtis as a wing back, who was excellent on the night. He actually made a great run that set up the penalty for Owen Doyle, and Breslin actually had a decent game at left wing back. So it's a system. I always say Clancy probably really wants to go to, but he's not sure if he has the players to do it. But it worked against Bohemians, and you need someone like Tunde up front if you're playing that system who's going to press as well. And it's going to be hard to leave him out of the team on Friday against Dundalk, that's for sure. But it was a massive win for Pats as well, to be honest, after a bad performance again at home against Shelbourne. To get a 3-0 at home against a Dublin rival like Bohemians, it's a massive, massive win for them, isn't it?
And not just a Dublin rival, but a European rival
Yeah.
as well. Like Bows, as we know, they've lost a lot of talent in their squad, a lot of experience, but they're still very much within a shout. They were only 3 points behind Pats going into this game, so it's a big blow for Bows, and some Pats have landed a blow to them, but just keep saying still have a season to go. But for Pats, it keeps them in the tail. It keeps them on the tails of Dundalk going into that game on Friday as well, where they can maybe close the gap on Dundalk on Friday in that game as well, or get a point out of it as well. So big result, like we saw, where they got hammered by Derry and they went and won 4-0 against Drogheda the following week. And I think
it's very up and down for them, isn't it?
It was 3 unbeaten, and then they went and lost to Shelbourne. Now they've beaten Bow. So I think the last game in the Daily Mount Park, they were beaten 1-0, weren't they? Stephen Mallon scored. So
yeah, it was a poor performance. Like Bows didn't even play that well in that game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so they've returned the result in their own favour this time. So yeah, fantastic one for Pat. Big blow for Bows after getting a good one against Sligo on Friday. But they'll not be too downhearted. I don't think they'll just get back on the saddle, because a long way to go.
They'll have no choice, I suppose, as to say. Sligo Rovers 2, Derry City 1 at the showgrounds. Buckley in 20, McGonigal right in half time. Keogh with that injury time winner, which must have been a killer to Derry fans, to be fair. But I suppose the two goals, Buckley's goal and McGonigal's goal, both defences will be disappointed to give away the goals. McGonigal himself finished as well, get his 10th of the season. But the drama in the last minute, and actually was a very good passing move from Sligo, and Keogh, to be fair, finishes brilliantly to the net. But it's a big blow for Derry, obviously 5 games now without a win, and the fact that Rovers lost, there was an opportunity to get it back to a couple of points on Rovers if they'd won the game, 4 or 5 points. But with Sligo obviously losing Liam Buckley, was it coming? Maybe, I don't know, it's always hard to tell. But John Russell is now the interim manager. Did you see that Sligo had that kind of bounce of the manager going? Or because I've seen Rory Higgins as well said that was Derry's worst performance of the season. Is that something you should go along with as well? Was it a bit of both? How did you see it overall?
I never actually saw this game, Keith. I had other commitments. So from what I've been chatting to people about it, and they were saying it wasn't a good performance, and Rory's admitted that himself. Like I've seen McGonigal's goal, and it was similar to the one he had disallowed down in Richmond Park. Defender cleared it off.
Not that one mattered.
No, I know, but not this one mattered in the end up either. Huge disappointing blow. They conceded in the 94th minute. We're usually scoring them kind of goals, which we've done over the early part of the season. Something's not quite right at the minute. I think you can largely put it down to the injuries in the squad. There's a lack of depth there. They've lost Cameron Dummigan now as well, the injury last night. So
they reverted back though to the back three, didn't they?
They did. From what I heard, it didn't quite work as what it had been earlier in the season. Maybe
is that because as well, JP? I wonder if they've been on a bad run of form. Exactly, they've been on a bad run of form. You can't just pick it up like that.
And not only that, they've been in that back four system for quite a few weeks now. So it's possible that it could take a game or two to get back used to playing that back three. So look, it's 3 defeats in a row. It's 2 wins in 10 games, but I know we lost, and you look at it, we've missed the opportunity to close within 4 points of Rovers again. But the way you look at it is you've lost again, and you're still only 7 points behind. So you have to take the positives out of it, I think. I don't think I don't think you can always focus on the negatives. I think you have to try and find the positives. And the positives is that we went into this game 7 points behind Rovers. We've come out of it still 7 behind them. So you have to look at it from that point of view. there's a huge opportunity now on Friday night. They put it right against Finn Harps, which will not be easy because the Derby and Finn Harps will be coming up. It's trying to smell blood, like if they're in a bad run, like, but at the same time, they're not in a good run themselves either. So it's setting itself up to be a potentially interesting game they watch. Like, so look, you have to take your hat off to Sligo rather than focusing on the bad run of form with Derry and Sligo. They got rid of their manager on Sunday. And
do you agree with that? Well, what do you think of that? It's a tough one, is it?
I have to be honest, and I quite kind of expected it. Maybe not now, but I didn't think he was going to last the season the way it was going. Now I'm hoping that they maybe would it day after last night. But look, I did the way they fell off last season, and this just about got over the line. Just about got over the line in Europe with 2 games to spare. Someone they really should have been seeing that out with maybe 5-6 games to spare. And then they started the season quite good actually, and then tailed off again. So
yeah, it's a common theme with them. It's hard to know why that is, but
it's a common theme. But is it a common theme for Sligo, or was it a common theme for Buckley? You know
that's
what I mean?
the question.
Because I can remember his Pats teams doing that as well. You know, they won the league, they won the cup, and then they just tailed down. And in the end, when he left, before he left, they were in a relegation battle, weren't they? Or was that under somebody else?
It turned dodgy. Yeah, they were indeed. Yeah,
they'd went from one in the league in 2013, one in the cup in 2014, and then in 2017 they actually came up to McGinn Park needing a point to avoid the playoff. Or was it that was automatic relegation that year? Sorry, it was. So they needed a point McGinn Park.
I remember quickly they were 2 down against Cork City and pretty much had to win. They came back and won 4-2. So that's how close they were.
Yeah, so like correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Buckley was in charge that year, was he? Or did
the year they nearly went down? He was, yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely, yeah.
So look, I'm not saying he's a bad manager. You know, you don't win 2 league titles and a couple of FAI Cups if you're a bad manager. Like, but it just seems, is it the thing that he tails off, his teams tail off rather than the club itself?
Is he not a longevity manager? Is the question maybe?
Yeah, he's a good stability manager. Get build you up again, put the foundations in place.
Because he did do that at Sligo. To be fair to him, he had done that.
He did. To be fair, he did. Like
2 years in a row in Europe.
Before COVID, they were bottom of the table, not a point on the board, and then they come and they get Europe in the last game of the season. So he is a good manager. He came in, he built them back up again, got them into Europe for 2 years in a row. They were disappointing in Europe last year, going out to the Icelandic team. Yeah. And maybe that's what the Sligo board of directors are looking at, is they want to get a manager in here and get him a couple of months before going into Europe and getting his stamp on the team and maybe get a good run at in the Europa Conference League. So a good win for Sligo, take nothing away from them. Hopefully Derry can bounce back on Friday night.
Absolutely. We'll just get on to our predictions for the games this Friday. This is obviously the last run of games. We're halfway through the season and then we have the break. So JP, Bohemians and Drogheda, how's that going? Only 3 points between them in the table in Bohemians' favour.
Aye. Drogheda will be buoyed by that result in Monday night. I think they're going to get a result in this game. I don't think they'll win. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but I think they'll get a 1-1 draw at least.
Interesting. I was thinking a draw as well. I was thinking 1-1 because they tend to go on a bad run, then a decent run again, and the pressure will be on Bohemians. Big pressure on Bohemians, I think. Derry City obviously been Harps for a start. This is the Northwest Derby. You were saying how Derry were off form though, but to be fair, I can't really see Harps going there with the confidence that maybe some other teams may have going to the Brandywell to get a win. I know it's a derby, I understand that, but I mean the form they're in and the way they're playing at the moment, you'd fancy this is a great opportunity surely for Derry to get a win before the break, I would suggest. Yeah.
And it's what they say in these games, form goes out the window, don't they? Like, so I'm hoping that form goes out the window for Derry's sake for this game. Like it's always a banana skin, especially since Ollie Horgan has been there.
You'd like to think if Derry perform to any decent enough level,
if they can perform to the level that they put in against Pats and Shamrock Rovers, if they in the last two home game or the Pats home game and then the Rovers game,
that should be enough.
That should be enough, because I think if they perform to that level, they'll create the chances that they did in them games, and potentially that they will score the goals. I can see Harps scoring though. I don't think we will keep a clean sheet, because I think don't think we're playing well enough to keep a clean sheet. And I think but saying that, Finn Harps have lost their aerial threat that you're always weary of, especially coming up against them.
Derry have gained one of them.
But yeah, exactly. You know what? I said I can't see Harps scoring, but I'm going to change my mind and say 2-0 Derry.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1-0 Derry. I do think it'll be a little bit tense, but I just think Finn Harps are playing very poorly at the moment. So Derry for me 1-0.
They're not playing. Harps aren't coming in with a kind of form that you could say, they're going up there. They could do this. They obviously still could, no matter how bad they're playing. But normally in seasons gone by, you're thinking, well, they picked up a point there. They won that game there. They lost there, but they were unlucky. You know what I mean? So I haven't seen that with Finn Harps this season, and they've lost a lot of key players from their squad through injury. I know Derry do too, but Derry have a lot of more depth than what Finn Harps do. So.
Well, the better players for start.
Exactly, yeah. So 2-0. They're going to stick with me 2-0 Derry.
Dundalk and Pats and St.Patrick at Oriel Park. The last time they met was 0-0 at Richmond. Actually, a game Pats should have won. And I think I remember saying a while back, I think that point for Dundalk could be a great point. And when you look at the league table at this minute in time, it is a great point.
It is, yeah.
Will they fancy winning at home to Pats, I think, in this time around?
I think they have to. They're in good form. Like they've 2 difficult away games they've overcome. I think in the last 6 or 7 games they've only lost one, and it was the Shamrock Rovers in Tala, off the back of a Friday Monday. So Pats will go on there with good confidence after the one on Monday night against Bohemians. I think I want to say that this is going to end up a draw. But I think the form and the way Dundalk are playing at the minute, I think Dundalk will sneak this. Maybe 2-1, maybe.
I actually think Pats might nick a
surprised
draw.
those Pats got something.
Yeah, I genuinely think they might nick a draw, because I think they'll set up not to lose. I think they'll do something
similar to how they played in the Brandywell.
I think so, and I think they'll look at the table and say, actually, we can't really lose this. I know a draw, people will say, but Dundalk have a game in hand. But who's to say Dundalk are going to win that game in hand? It's in July. How many points are going to be between the sides by that point? So I think Pats might go there, and they seem to play generally with a bit more confidence away from home. So I think it'll be tight and tense as well. But I'm going to go for 1-1. UCD and Sligo, and John Russell has to fancy this surely. Give him the job if he wins the Belfield.
Yeah. Again, potential banana skin, like we saw what UCD did to them in the showgrounds, and Sligo just about got a point out of that. So John Russell not want that kind of performance again. Like so, and as we say, UCD have lost Colin Whelan, who they had that night. So where's their goals going to come from? Good result, good one against Derry. As I say, I never saw the game, so can't comment on how well Sligo played or how poor Derry played.
Well, winning it laid on, I suppose, as well. You'd like to think.
Going to the very end,
confidence,
going to the very end shows you that they're there for the guys in charge. I'm not saying that they weren't there for Buckley, like, but they didn't settle for the draw against Derry. They won the game. They won it for themselves, the fans, John Russell, and I think they'll win this game. I think they'll win this game 2-0.
Yeah, I've funny feeling UCD might score. Kerrigan might come up with a worldie or something, but 2-1 Sligo. Because that's what they're relying on pretty much, if I'm honest with you. Shamrock Rovers then at Shelbourne, and look, Shelbourne on the back of 4 wins in a row. If I'm a Shelbourne supporter though, going into this game, I'm wishing Shamrock Rovers won on Friday. I think. because do you know what I
That's
mean? They're that type of
similar
team.
to what I
You
said
don't
in
want to be
the review show for last week about
you
Sligo.
don't want
That
to be
you're,
the team to play them next, do you? When they're wounded, Shamrock Rovers, because they tend to
yeah,
come out and perform and more often not get a win.
yeah,
Look, the thing is, Shelbourne are going into this game with no pressure because they
yeah,
can lose the game and they can still look at it and say, we're in a decent position here. So that might help them in that way. I'm not saying
yeah.
they
All the
go with a
pressure's off.
mindset of losing the game,
Yeah,
but you know what I mean? All the pressure is off, and in many ways, the pressure is on Shamrock Rovers. And if they were to make it a lead Shelbourne at Tallaght Stadium, you'd never know, but they would have to go in front, you'd imagine.
I think
That
so.
said,
I
I do
think
fancy Shamrock Rovers, despite being without Danny Mandrew. You can bring in Graham Burke and he could be just as good. So Rovers for
I
me.
think anybody. I think anybody that's going to beat Shamrock Rovers this year has to score the first goal in the game.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like I can't see teams coming from behind.
If
And beating
Rovers
Shamrock
scored
Rovers.
first against Drogheda on Friday, maybe they would have won it comfortably.
Yeah, I get that. I think if you're going to beat Shamrock Rovers this season,
Yeah.
you have to get the first goal in the game and give yourself that sort of head start on them because they're so difficult to break down, and they're
Well,
even
they've
more
had three
difficult.
defeats actually. They lost to Derry 2-1. They were behind in the game and they conceded late on. Derry winning it. They lost 1-0 at Pats and they lost 1-0 at Drogheda. So generally, if you're beating them, you probably think it's a 1-0 generally.
Yeah. You have to, because they're so difficult to break down at 0-0, and they become even more difficult to break down when they go a goal up, and that's when they're dangerous. Then when they're goal up, you're coming out, you're leaving gaps for them then, and they pick you apart. Like, Shelbourne are going into this with 4 wins out of their last 4 games.
Impressive, yeah.
And it's 4 good results as well. Sligo, Drogheda, Pats. And like you'd expect that they beat UCD, so
they never would have. The most optimistic Shelbourne fan wouldn't have said they get 12 from those games, I'd imagine.
No, I don't think. I think they probably would have maybe took half of that. Possibly they would have accepted maybe half of that, but they
probably
get 12,
7 or 8. I've been very optimistic, like you know.
They get the full 12 is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
and I think they could cause an upset here and get a result. And when I say upset, for me, Shelbourne getting a draw on Tallaght is probably an upset. You know what I mean? So I think this will finish 1 each. I think this could end up 1 each. Wouldn't surprise me if Rovers went out and blitzed them 3 or 4, but I think Shelbourne are playing well. They're creating chances. And like as you say, Rovers are beating against Drogheda. But if Shelbourne get the first goal in this game, I think they stand every chance of getting a point out of it, and I think they will.
Absolutely. JP, thanks for coming on. Guys, let us know what you think in the comments. Give us a few predictions for the games on Friday. What else? Subscribe to the channel, hit your bell notification button, and thanks for watching once again. Brilliant. Thank you.